Let me ask you something right now. How many times have you stopped yourself before even starting just because a tiny voice in your head whispered, you can't do it? That voice, that constant whisper of doubt, fear, and limitation, that's not your friend. It's the enemy of your destiny. And today, right here, right now, we're going to kill that negative thinking once and for all. One, the real battle is in your mind. Every single person walking on this planet fights two wars. The one outside with circumstances, people, and challenges, and the one inside, the war between belief and doubt. The truth is, your external world is just a reflection of your internal world. If your mind is full of negativity, your life will echo it back. If your mind is full of belief, passion, and gratitude, your life will rise to meet it. So understand this. Your life doesn't change when you get more money or more followers or more opportunities. Your life changes when you change your thinking because your thoughts shape your emotions. Your emotions drive your actions. And your actions create your results. It all starts inside your head, too. The lies of negative thinking. Negative thinking is a liar. It tells you stories that feel real, but they're not true. It says, you're not good enough. You don't have what it takes. What if you fail? What will people think? And the worst part, you believe it because it sounds like your own voice. But here's the truth. That voice is not you. That voice is fear. It's every rejection, every failure, every moment you were told you couldn't, stored in your nervous system like poison. And every time you listen to it, you feed it. You make it stronger. So today, you've got to decide. Will you feed your fear or will you feed your power? 3, awareness is the first step. You can't kill something you don't see. So the first step to destroying negative thinking is awareness. You must catch that negative voice in the act. When it says, you're too late, you respond, no, I'm right on time. When it says, you can't do this, you say, watch me. When it says, it's too hard, you answer, then I'm growing. You must interrupt the pattern every single time it appears, because your brain is a muscle, and every thought you think is a rep. If you keep repeating negativity, you build a habit of weakness. If you train yourself to replace it with power, you build mental strength. 4, replace the negative with power language. Here's the secret. You can't just eliminate negative thinking. You have to replace it with something stronger. For example, instead of I can't, say I'm learning how. Instead of it's impossible, say it's challenging, but I'll find a way. Instead of I'm not enough, say I'm more than enough, and I'm still growing. Words create energy. The language you use is the software that programs your subconscious mind. So if your words are weak, your life becomes weak. But if your words are powerful, your life will rise with power. Try this right now, out loud. I am unstoppable. I am stronger than my excuses. I control my mind. My mind doesn't control me. Say it with emotion. Feel it in your body, because emotion is the glue that makes change stick. 5, the power of physiology. Let's get real. You can't think negative when your body is in a state of power. When you stand tall, breathe deeply, move with energy, your brain starts producing different chemicals. Your posture affects your psychology. So when negative thoughts hit you, don't just sit there and analyze them. Move, stand up, shake it off, breathe with intensity, change your state, and your mind will follow. You've seen people slumped over, speaking softly, saying, I just feel stuck. Of course they do. Their body is telling their brain, we're stuck. Change your body, you change your life. 6, focus on what you can control. Negative thinking thrives on what you can't control. The past, other people's circumstances. But power lives in what you can control. Your focus, your energy, your next step. You can't change the past, but you can learn from it. You can't control other people, but you can control your response. You can't stop every storm, but you can decide how you'll sail through it. The moment you shift your focus from what's missing to what's possible, you step out of victim mode and into victory mode. Where focus goes, energy flows, so stop watering your weeds and start watering your dreams. 7, create a ritual of power. Don't leave your mindset to chance. Make power a daily ritual. Every morning, feed your mind something that lifts you up. Read, listen, watch something inspiring. Speak gratitude out loud. Visualize success before you start your day. If you wake up and just scroll through negativity, you're programming your mind for mediocrity. But if you start your day with energy, focus, and gratitude, you become unstoppable. Make your morning your foundation. Make your night your reflection. And make your days your proof. 8, associate with the right people. Let's be honest, some of your negative thoughts don't even come from you. They come from the people you spend time with. You cannot fly with eagles if you keep walking with chickens. If you're surrounded by people who complain, doubt, and gossip, you'll absorb that energy. So protect your environment. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, believe in you, and push you to level up. Find those who speak life, not fear, because environment shapes identity, and identity determines destiny. 9, turn pain into power. Every negative thought is really a signal, a sign that you've got pain, fear, or uncertainty buried inside, and instead of running from it, use it. Pain can destroy you or it can build you, depending on what you do with it. You've been through things that were meant to break you, but you're still here. That means there's a reason. There's strength in your story. When you use your pain as fuel, you become unstoppable. So don't bury it, transform it. 10, the final decision. Here's the truth. Your mind will always offer you 2 choices, fear or faith, excuses or results, comfort or growth. And every single day you decide which one wins. You can live trapped in the same loop of negative thinking, or you can break free and design a new identity. You can choose to be average, or you can choose to rise. But remember this, no one is coming to save you. You are the hero of your story. You have the power to rewrite your future, starting right now. So take a deep breath, stand tall, and make this decision. From this moment forward, I kill my negative thinking. I take back control of my mind. I focus on power, possibility, and purpose, because I was not born to live in fear. I was born to lead, to rise, to conquer. Now go out there and live like it. Your mind is your battlefield. Win it first. That's where every victory or defeat begins. Before you ever step into the world, before you take the first action, before you face any challenge, the real fight is already happening inside your head. The truth is, your external world is only a reflection of the internal war you either win or lose every day. Most people think success starts with opportunity, resources, or luck. But that's wrong. It starts with mindset. It starts with what happens when no one is watching, when doubt, fear, and self-criticism try to take over your thoughts. Think about it. Every time you've talked yourself out of something, every time you've given up before trying, every time you've said, maybe it's not meant for me, that wasn't the world stopping you. That was your mind surrendering. The world didn't close the door. Your thinking did. You can have all the talent, skill, and opportunity in the world, but if your mindset is poisoned with negativity, you'll sabotage yourself before life even gives you a chance. The mind has only one true master, you, yet most people live like prisoners in their own thoughts. They let fear, anxiety, and limitation dictate every move they make. They wake up already defeated because their inner dialogue is filled with words like can't, won't, never, and what if. That constant stream of negative language shapes their emotions, and those emotions shape their reality. The way you think determines how you feel, and how you feel determines how you act. So, if your thoughts are filled with fear, your actions will reflect hesitation. If your thoughts are filled with power, your actions will reflect confidence. This is why winning the battle inside is non-negotiable. It's not just about thinking positive. It's about mastering your internal world so completely that the outside world cannot shake you. It's about recognizing that the greatest enemy isn't the economy, the competition, or even your past. It's the voice in your head that keeps saying you're not ready, not good enough, not capable. That voice grows louder the more you feed it, and the only way to silence it is to face it head on. The mind loves repetition. Whatever you repeat becomes your truth. If you constantly tell yourself stories of failure, you create a pattern of defeat. The brain doesn't distinguish between imagination and reality. It believes what you tell it with emotion. That means if you repeatedly visualize success, confidence, and control, your brain will start to align your behaviors with that vision. But if you repeat fear, worry, and doubt, your brain will protect you by keeping you small. Winning the battle in your mind means taking control of your internal dialogue. You must learn to question every negative thought the moment it appears. When your mind says, you can't, you must answer back, why not? When it says, what if I fail? You respond, what if I succeed? You become the leader of your thoughts instead of their victim. This mental leadership is what separates those who talk about change from those who actually create it. Your brain's number one job is survival, not success. That's why it defaults to fear and comfort. It's designed to keep you safe from danger, not to help you grow beyond limits. So when you feel resistance, understand that it's not weakness, it's your mind trying to protect you. But protection often means paralysis. The mind says, don't risk it, stay where it's safe, what if it hurts? You must reprogram that instinct by proving to yourself that growth and discomfort are not danger, they are progress. Every time you step into discomfort and survive, your mind learns a new truth. You're capable of more. Winning the inner battle also requires mastering your focus. Whatever you focus on, you feel, if you focus on what's missing, You'll feel if you focus on what's possible, you'll feel empowered. People who live in constant negativity don't have worse lives. They have worse focus. They give all their energy to what they can't control, to their problems, to their fears. But the ones who rise, who keep pushing no matter what, focus relentlessly on what they can do, what they can change, and what they can learn. Your focus is your weapon. Where it goes, your power flows. The battlefield of the mind is shaped by the environment you allow yourself to live in. The conversations you have, the content you consume, the people you listen to, all of these become ammunition for either victory or defeat. If you surround yourself with people who complain, criticize, and doubt, your brain will absorb that energy and replicate it. But if you fill your mind with inspiration, purpose, and challenge, your brain will mirror that too. You must guard your mental space like a fortress. Do not let negativity rent space in your head for free. And let's not forget the role of emotion. Emotion is the fuel of thought. A single emotional moment can reshape your mindset forever. That's why when you feel stuck, the fastest way to shift your thinking is to shift your state. Change your body, change your breathing, change your posture, and your mind will follow. When you stand tall, breathe deeply, and move with intensity, your brain starts releasing chemicals that create confidence and focus. You can't think like a victim while moving like a warrior. The problem is most people let their emotions control their mindset instead of the other way around. Something small happens, a rejection, a delay, a bad comment, and their whole mindset collapses. They spiral into negative self-talk and let one event define their worth. But winners understand that emotion is just information, not identity. You can feel frustration without becoming frustration. You can feel fear without living in fear. You observe it, learn from it, and then redirect it. Your mind is also influenced by the questions you ask. Negative thinkers ask, why does this always happen to me? And their brain gives them answers that reinforce defeat. Winners ask, what can I learn from this? How can I turn this around? What's the next best move? And their brain finds solutions. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. If you want to change your mindset, change your questions. There's also the trap of comparison. It's one of the deadliest weapons on the battlefield of the mind. Every time you compare yourself to someone else, you hand over your power. You tell your brain that their journey defines your value. But comparison is a lie. It ignores your path, your progress, and your potential. The only person you should compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. If you're growing, learning, or improving even a little, you're winning the battle in your mind isn't about never having negative thoughts again. It's about never letting them control you. It's about recognizing them, challenging them, and replacing them with truth. It's about building mental discipline so strong that your first instinct when fear shows up is to move forward instead of back. You can train your body to lift weight, but you can also train your mind to lift pressure. Every time you push through doubt, you strengthen your mental muscle. Every time you act despite fear, you rewire your brain for courage. Every time you refuse to believe in limitations, you expand what's possible. Over time, this becomes automatic. You start expecting success instead of fearing failure. Your mind creates your reality. If you fill it with reasons why you can't, you'll live a small life. If you fill it with reasons why you must, you'll live an extraordinary one. The battle is not out there. It's in here. Every thought, every belief, every story you tell yourself is a soldier in your army. Make sure they fight for you, not against you. Because until you win that battle, nothing outside will ever change. But once you do, everything outside will have no choice but to follow, interrupt, and replace negative patterns instantly. That single decision can change the entire direction of your life. Every human being has patterns, repeated thoughts, emotions, and actions that run automatically. Most of the time, these patterns are invisible. They form through repetition, experiences, and beliefs that settle deep into the subconscious mind. The problem is that many of these patterns are negative. They keep people stuck in cycles of doubt, procrastination, and fear. They convince you that you're not capable, that things will never change, that no matter how hard you try, it won't work out. These patterns run so smoothly that they feel natural, but they are mental programs that can and must be interrupted. A negative pattern always begins with a trigger. It could be a situation, a word, a failure, or even a memory. Something small happens, a mistake at work, someone ignores your message, you look in the mirror and feel disappointed, and instantly your mind plays an old familiar script. Here we go again. I'm not good enough. Nothing ever works out. Once that script starts, your emotions follow. You begin to feel frustrated, anxious, or sad. Those emotions affect your body. Your breathing gets shallow, your shoulders slump, your voice lowers, and now your physiology matches your thoughts. From that state, your decisions change, your energy drops, and you create results that reinforce the pattern. It's a closed loop that feeds on itself. The only way to break the loop is through interruption. You must catch the pattern in the moment and stop it before it builds momentum. The brain operates like a river. Once a thought starts flowing, it gathers speed, and soon you're swept away by it. But if you can interrupt it early, you can redirect its flow. That's why awareness is so critical. You have to recognize when your thinking shifts into negativity. You have to feel that tension in your body, that drop in your energy, that familiar voice that says, this isn't working. The instant you notice it, you interrupt it. You can do it with movement, with language, with focus, anything that changes your state immediately. When you interrupt a pattern, you're creating space between thought and reaction. You're saying, wait, I'm not this thought, I'm not this emotion, I'm the one observing it. That moment of separation gives you power. It allows you to choose a new response instead of reacting automatically. You can stand up, change your breathing, shout something powerful, or ask yourself an empowering question. For example, when your mind says, this is impossible, you can interrupt it by saying, stop. What if it's not? What if there's another way? That question redirects your brain from limitation to possibility. The more you do this, the faster your brain learns that negativity doesn't control you anymore. The brain is wired for efficiency, not truth. It loves shortcuts. When you repeat a certain thought often enough, the brain saves it as a shortcut, like a mental highway. That's why you keep returning to the same patterns. Your brain simply takes the familiar route. But when you interrupt that route repeatedly, your brain starts to rewire itself. It weakens the old connections and builds new ones. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. The brain's ability to reprogram itself based on experience. Every interruption is like building a new road, a new path that leads toward power instead of weakness. Replacing the pattern is just as important as interrupting it. You can't just stop thinking negatively. You must consciously install a new, empowering thought in its place. If you remove the weeds from a garden but don't plant anything new, the weeds grow back. The same is true with your mind. When you stop a negative thought, you have to replace it with one that serves you. You can use phrases like, I'm capable, I'm learning, I've handled worse before, or this is my opportunity to grow. These are not empty affirmations. They are commands to your subconscious mind. The tone, the emotion, and the repetition make them powerful. Your body is a key tool in interrupting negative patterns. It's impossible to stay in a negative state. When your body is filled with high energy and movement, that's because your body and mind are one system. When you stand tall, breathe deeply, and move with intensity, you send your brain signals of strength and confidence. Your brain then produces chemicals that support that state, dopamine, endorphins, and serotonin, which make positive thinking easier. On the other hand, if you slump your shoulders, breathe shallowly, and move slowly, your brain interprets that as defeat and produces chemicals that reinforce sadness or fear. So when negativity hits, the fastest way to interrupt it is to change your physiology. Jump, move, stretch, shout, or take a powerful breath. Anything that shocks your system out of that state. Another powerful method to interrupt patterns is changing focus. The mind cannot focus on fear and gratitude at the same time. If you shift your focus to something you're grateful for, your emotional state changes immediately. Gratitude is one of the fastest pattern breakers because it moves you from scarcity to abundance, from lack to appreciation. The next time your mind spirals into negativity, stop and name 3 things you're grateful for. Feel that gratitude deeply, not as a list, but as an emotion. It's impossible to feel powerless when your focus is on what you already have. Language also plays a huge role in maintaining or destroying patterns. The words you use determine how your brain interprets reality. If you constantly use phrases like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm so stressed, or this always happens to me, your brain begins to accept that as truth and reinforces the emotional state that matches those words. But if you change your language, you change your experience. Instead of I'm overwhelmed, try I'm challenged but capable. Instead of I can't, say I'm finding a way. Every time you replace a negative phrase with an empowering one, you're rewiring your emotional response. Sometimes you can interrupt a pattern simply by changing your environment. If you're sitting in a dark room and negative thoughts start to spiral, get up, walk outside, and feel the sunlight. If you're stuck in a space that reminds you of failure or stress, move to a new environment that energizes you. The mind associates emotions with places and sounds, so changing your surroundings can help break the association. Play music that uplifts you, talk to someone positive, or engage in an activity that changes your sensory input, you're teaching your brain that it doesn't have to stay trapped in one emotional state. Repetition is essential. One interruption isn't enough to reprogram years of conditioned thinking. You must practice it daily, moment by moment. The more often you interrupt and replace negative thoughts, the faster your brain learns new patterns. Over time, your default reaction to adversity changes. What used to trigger fear will now trigger focus. What used to cause frustration will now spark determination. You'll notice the shift because situations that once overwhelmed you no longer hold the same power. This process requires intensity, not perfection. You'll still have moments where negative thinking sneaks in, but your goal is to shorten the duration of that negativity. Instead of staying stuck for hours or days, you catch it in minutes or seconds. Each quick recovery is a victory. You're training your mind to return to strength faster each time. That is mental conditioning, the process of teaching your brain resilience through repetition and awareness. When you make this a habit, your emotional energy changes. People around you will feel it. You'll radiate confidence and calm because you're no longer reacting to life. You're leading it. You'll start to realize that situations themselves are neutral. It's the meaning you give them that makes them positive or negative. Once you control that meaning, you control everything. Interrupting negative patterns also means being honest with yourself. You have to admit when you're falling into old habits instead of pretending everything is fine. Awareness without judgment is the key. When you catch yourself thinking negatively, don't criticize yourself for it. Just recognize it, interrupt it, and replace it. Every interruption is progress. Every replacement is growth. This is how transformation happens. Not overnight, but through consistent mental training. Your life changes the moment you stop letting negative thoughts run unchecked. The moment you decide to become the observer, the interrupter, and the reprogrammer of your own mind. The moment you realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of those thoughts. Once you master that separation, you take control of your internal world, and when you control your internal world, the external one has no power to defeat you. Use powerful language and strong physiology to shift state. Every emotion you feel, every decision you make, and every result you create begins with your state, the mental, emotional, and physical condition you're in at any given moment. Your state determines how you think, how you act, and how you respond to the world around you. When you're in a weak state, problems seem bigger, opportunities feel out of reach, and confidence disappears. When you're in a strong state, everything changes. Your energy rises, your focus sharpens, and your mind opens to possibility. The secret to mastering your state lies in two tools that you control every second of your life: language and physiology. Language is not just communication, it's creation. The words you use shape how you experience reality. The human brain doesn't simply hear words. It feels them, it believes them, it builds associations around them. Every time you use words like I can't, I'm stuck, I'm tired, or I'm stressed, you're giving commands to your subconscious mind. You're programming your nervous system to act accordingly. When you say I'm exhausted, your body begins to feel heavier. When you say this is too hard, your motivation drops. But when you change your language even slightly, you change the entire message your brain receives. Say I'm challenged, but I'm learning, and instantly your mind looks for solutions instead of excuses. The most successful people in the world are masters of their language. They know how to use words that create momentum instead of resistance. They don't describe situations as problems. They call them opportunities. They don't say I have to. They say I get to. That small shift changes emotion from obligation to gratitude. The way you describe your experiences determines how you experience them. When you choose powerful language, you begin to command your mind instead of obeying it. Your internal dialogue, the words you whisper to yourself, is the most powerful conversation you'll ever have. Most people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to someone they love. They criticize, doubt, and shame themselves, thinking that this self-talk will push them to improve, but it only weakens their confidence. You cannot beat yourself into greatness. You can only build yourself into it. You must become aware of your self-talk and consciously transform it into words that empower. When your mind says, I'm not ready, replace it with I'm becoming ready. When it says, this is too much, replace it with this is preparing me for more. That single switch changes your emotional state from fear to focus. The tone of your voice matters as much as the words you use. Say I am strong in a weak tone, and your brain won't believe it. Say it with energy, with conviction, with volume, and your body begins to respond. Your nervous system reacts to intensity. Emotion amplifies belief. That's why affirmations alone don't work for most people. They repeat them flatly, without emotion, without movement. But when you add energy, your mind starts to accept them as truth. The emotion behind the words makes the difference. Physiology is the second key to mastering your state. Your body is the fastest way to change how you feel. The mind and body are not separate. They are one system communicating constantly. The way you move, breathe, and carry yourself sends powerful signals to your brain about how to feel. If you sit slouched, breathe shallowly, and look down, your brain interprets that posture as sadness or fatigue and adjusts your chemistry accordingly. But if you stand tall, breathe deeply, and move with intensity, your brain floods your body with chemicals that increase confidence and clarity. When people feel stuck emotionally, they usually try to think their way out of it, but you can't think your way out of a low state. You must move your way out. Motion creates emotion. The moment you change your physical state, your mind follows. This is why athletes jump, stretch, and breathe before a competition. They are not just warming up their bodies, they're programming their minds. You can do the same thing in any situation. When you feel your energy dropping, stand up, take a deep breath, roll your shoulders back and move with power. You'll feel an instant shift in your mindset. Your breath is a direct line to your emotions. Shallow breathing creates anxiety. Deep breathing creates calm and control. When you breathe slowly and deeply, your body releases tension, your heart rate balances, and your brain receives more oxygen, all of which influence how you think whenever you feel overwhelmed. Focus on your breathing. Inhale through your nose, hold it, and exhale longer than you inhale. Within moments, your state will change. The breath teaches the body to relax, and a relaxed body allows the mind to think clearly. Body language is another powerful aspect of physiology. Every emotion has a posture. Confidence has one, fear has another, excitement has its own. When you adopt the posture of an emotion, you begin to feel it. If you smile genuinely for 60 seconds, even if you don't feel happy, your brain releases serotonin and dopamine, the chemicals of happiness. It can't tell the difference between a fake smile and a real one. So use your body intentionally. Walk with energy, make eye contact, hold your head high. These small physical adjustments change how others see you, but more importantly, they change how you see yourself. Combining language and physiology creates unstoppable momentum. When you use powerful words while standing or moving powerfully, your emotional state multiplies. Try this. Say out loud, "I am unstoppable," while standing tall, shoulders back, breathing deeply, and speaking with volume. Feel how different that is from saying it while sitting slouched, whispering under your breath. That's the power of alignment between body and language. When your words and physiology send the same message, your brain believes it instantly. Your physiology also affects your focus. When you move your body with energy, your brain releases neurotransmitters like dopamine and norepinephrine, which increase alertness and drive. That's why people who exercise regularly often feel more mentally clear and emotionally stable. They've trained their physiology to support positive states. But you don't need a full workout to shift your state. Even 30 seconds of movement, jumping, stretching, or deep breathing can interrupt a negative pattern and reset your focus. One of the reasons people struggle to change their emotions is that they don't understand state management. They wait for the world to give them reasons to feel good. They think, "I'll be confident when I succeed," or "I'll be happy when this problem is over." But confidence and happiness are not outcomes. They are states you can create instantly through language and physiology. The moment you take responsibility for your state, you stop being a victim of circumstances. Your mind follows your body's lead. If you start every day hunched over your phone, scrolling through negativity, your brain associates that posture with lethargy and comparison. But if you start each morning with movement, stretching, powerful breathing, strong words, your brain begins to associate mornings with strength and certainty. You're programming your nervous system for victory before the day even begins. Another crucial aspect of language and physiology is how you use them under pressure. When challenges come, your body and language tend to contract. Your shoulders tighten, your tone drops, your words become uncertain. This physical reaction amplifies stress, but if you train yourself to expand physically during stress, to stand taller, breathe stronger, and use determined language, you reverse the spiral. You signal to your brain that you're in control, not threatened. It's also important to eliminate disempowering words from your vocabulary. Words like always, never, and possible create mental walls. They leave no room for growth or change. Replace them with flexible language that opens doors. Instead of saying "I always fail," say "I haven't succeeded yet." Instead of "this never works," say "I haven't found the right way yet." This small linguistic shift invites solutions where before there were only limits. Anchoring is another powerful technique for linking physiology and emotion. You can create a physical gesture, like clenching your fist, tapping your chest, or raising your hands, while feeling a strong emotion, such as pride or joy. Repeat it several times until your brain links the motion to the emotion. Later, when you're in a low state, perform that gesture, and your brain will trigger the same positive emotion. You've built a bridge between physiology and mindset. Energy flows where language directs it. When you say, I feel alive, your energy expands. When you say, I feel drained, it contracts. When you tell yourself, I can handle this, your body tightens in readiness. When you say, I can't, your body collapses. You can test this instantly. Stand tall, take a deep breath, say, I am powerful with full emotion, and feel the surge inside. That feeling is your physiology and language aligning into one force. That is the energy that changes everything. To master your state, you must make this a practice, not an occasional effort. Every time you catch yourself slouching, every time you hear yourself using weak words, immediately adjust. Straighten your body, breathe, and speak with energy. It's like training a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger your control becomes. Eventually it becomes automatic. You'll walk, talk, and think like someone who expects success because your body and words won't allow anything less. When you take control of your language and physiology, you take control of your emotions. When you take control of your emotions, you take control of your decisions. And when you take control of your decisions, you take control of your destiny. Focus only on what you can control. That simple principle has the power to turn chaos into clarity and frustration into progress. Most people waste their energy fighting battles they can never win, arguing with the past, blaming circumstances, or worrying about what others think. They spend hours focusing on things completely outside their influence, and then they wonder why they feel powerless, anxious, or stuck. The truth is, power doesn't come from controlling everything. It comes from directing your attention toward what you can actually shape. Your mindset, your effort, your decisions, and your response to whatever happens around you. Life is full of uncertainty. You can't predict the economy, the weather, or other people's choices. You can't force someone to believe in you, support you, or stay in your life. You can't stop unexpected problems from appearing, but you can always control what you focus on, what meaning you attach to events, and what action you take next. That's where freedom begins. Not in control over the outside world, but in mastery of your inner world. The people who thrive in every situation are not those with perfect circumstances. They're the ones who've trained themselves to focus their mind on what they can influence right now. When you give energy to what's beyond your control, you feed frustration. You tell your brain that you're helpless, that life is happening to you instead of for you. But when you shift your attention to what's within your control, you instantly feel stronger. You start to notice solutions instead of problems, choices instead of limits, possibilities instead of obstacles. Your brain is like a spotlight. It can only shine on one area at a time. If that light is always aimed at what's wrong, you'll feel trapped. If it's aimed at what you can do, you'll feel powerful. Every time you face a challenge, there are two zones, the zone of control and the zone of concern. The zone of concern includes everything you care about but can't directly influence, other people's opinions, the economy, politics, traffic, timing, or luck. The zone of control includes your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and habits. The more time you spend in your control zone, the more effective you become. The more you drift into the concern zone, the weaker you feel. The difference between the two is where your mental energy goes. You can't always choose the situation, but you can always choose your state, your story, and your strategy. Focusing on what you can control starts with awareness. The moment something frustrates you, stop and ask, is this within my control? If the answer is no, release it immediately. Don't fight battles that don't belong to you. If the answer is yes, take immediate action. The act of deciding restores power. Most people never reach this point because they react emotionally without awareness. They get stuck in endless, complaining or worrying, which keeps them in paralysis. Awareness cuts through that fog and brings your attention back to the present moment, where your influence actually exists. Control begins with your mindset. You can't control what thoughts come into your head, but you can control which ones you focus on. Thoughts are like birds flying overhead. You can't stop them from appearing, but you can stop them from building a nest. When fear or doubt shows up, acknowledge it, then redirect your focus towards something useful. You can choose to think in terms of problems or in terms of possibilities. The situation may not change, but the way you experience it will. A mind focused on solutions finds momentum. Even in difficulty, a mind focused on problems finds excuses even in opportunity. You can also control your effort. You may not control outcomes, but you always control how much you give. Success rarely belongs to the most talented. It belongs to the most consistent. When you focus on effort instead of results, you build habits that eventually create results. You stop waiting for perfect timing or approval because your focus shifts from will this work to I will make this work. Effort is the equalizer. You may not control the score, but you always control how hard you play. The most powerful control you have is over meaning. Nothing in life has meaning until you assign it one. The same event can destroy one person and empower another depending on how they interpret it. When something painful happens, most people ask, why me? And their brain searches for reasons to justify the pain. But those who focus on control ask, what can I learn? How can this make me stronger? That single question transforms suffering into strength. Meaning is the bridge between pain and growth, and you are the architect of that bridge. Your focus determines your emotional state. Focus on what's wrong and you'll feel hopeless. Focus on what's right and you'll feel grateful. Focus on what's missing and you'll feel lacking. Focus on what's possible and you'll feel motivated. It's not the situation that dictates how you feel. It's where you place your attention. Two people can experience the same setback, but the one who chooses to focus on opportunity will recover faster, act bolder, and grow stronger. That's not luck. That's intentional focus. Moments of chaos, your ability to focus on control becomes your anchor. When everything feels uncertain, the mind starts to spiral. What if this happens? What if that fails? What if it's too late? The key is to bring your mind back to the present. Ask yourself, what can I do right now? Not tomorrow, not next month, but now. Maybe it's taking one small action. Maybe it's changing your perspective. Maybe it's simply choosing to stay calm. Every time you redirect your focus from fear to action, you reclaim control. There's also a deep connection between control and energy. Worry drains energy because it's attention spent on what you can't change. Action generates energy because it's attention invested in what you can. People often say they feel exhausted by life, but they're not tired. They're scattered. Their energy is leaking into things that don't serve them. When you narrow your focus to what's truly within your reach, you conserve energy for the things that matter most. You stop wasting emotional fuel on what's outside your lane. Another part of control is accepting responsibility. Blame is the fastest way to lose power. The moment you blame someone else, you hand them control of your emotions. You say, you determine how I feel. But when you take full responsibility, even for things that weren't your fault, you regain power. Responsibility doesn't mean guilt. It means ownership. It means saying, I can't control what happened, but I can control what I do next. That attitude turns victims into victors. You can also control the environment you place yourself in. You can choose what you listen to, what you read, who you spend time with, and what you expose your mind to. If you surround yourself with negativity, even unknowingly, you'll absorb it. But if you surround yourself with people and environments that encourage growth, your focus will naturally strengthen. Control your environment, and your environment will start working for you instead of against you. Time is another area where focus on control matters. You can't control how fast time moves, but you can control how you use it. Every moment spent worrying about what you can't control is a moment stolen from what you can build. The most effective people don't have more time. They have more clarity. They know where to put their focus, and they guard it fiercely. They treat attention like currency and spend it only on what moves them forward. Sometimes controlling your focus means letting go. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the recognition that fighting the uncontrollable keeps you trapped in struggle. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means redirecting your energy towards something that creates growth. It's deciding that your peace of mind matters more than winning every argument, proving every point, or forcing every outcome. It's choosing progress over perfection. When you train yourself to focus only on what you can control, you begin to trust yourself more. You stop chasing certainty in the outside world because you find it inside yourself. You start to move with calm confidence. Even when the situation around you is uncertain, you become steady, grounded, unshakable. The world can spin in chaos, but your inner world stays centered because your focus remains on what's real, what's present, and what's within your reach. Turn pain into power and make it your fuel. Every person walking this planet has felt pain. Emotional pain, physical pain, the pain of loss, rejection, failure, or disappointment. Pain is the one experience we all share, but the way we respond to it is what separates the broken from the unbreakable. Some people let pain define them. while others use it as fire to rise higher. Pain can destroy you, or it can build you into something unstoppable. It's not about escaping it, it's about transforming it. You can't avoid pain in life, but you can choose to give it a purpose. When you give your pain a purpose, it stops being your prison and becomes your power source. Pain is a teacher that speaks a brutal but honest language. It strips away illusions and reveals what's real. When you're comfortable, you don't grow. Comfort makes you soft, but pain sharpens you. It forces you to adapt, to dig deeper, to find strength you never knew existed. The moments when everything falls apart are the same moments that can forge your identity if you let them. Growth doesn't come from pleasure, it comes from pressure. Diamonds aren't born in calm, they're born in fire. You're no different. The heat of pain is what forges your resilience, your discipline, your hunger. When pain shows up, most people run from it. They numb it, hide it, or blame it on something outside themselves. But avoiding pain is the same as avoiding power. Every time you numb pain, you numb growth. Pain isn't there to punish you. It's there to wake you up. It's life's way of saying something needs to change. When you stop running from pain and start listening to it, you find the lesson that it's trying to teach you. You discover that inside every painful experience is a seed of transformation. The people who achieve greatness aren't those who never suffer. We're the ones who've decided their suffering will not go to waste. Think about the most powerful people in history, athletes, leaders, creators. Almost all of them started with pain, rejection, poverty, loss, fear. What made them extraordinary wasn't luck or talent. It was their decision to turn that pain into fuel. They used it to push harder, to work longer, to believe deeper. Pain became the reason they refused to quit. When you harness your pain like that, it becomes the most reliable energy you'll ever have. Motivation fades, inspiration comes and goes, but pain will always remind you of why you started. It burns inside you, and if you channel it right, that fire becomes unstoppable drive. Pain gives meaning to your victories. Without struggle, success feels empty. Without failure, achievement feels shallow. Pain gives your triumphs weight because you know what it took to earn them. You remember the nights you almost gave up, the people who doubted you, the times you felt lost, and that memory fuels gratitude. You stop taking life for granted when you fought through something that almost broke you. Pain humbles you, and humility keeps you grounded while still hungry. It teaches you empathy, patience, and appreciation for what others go through. The same pain that once made you cry can later give you the wisdom to heal others. Turning pain into power begins with a decision. You have to decide that your pain will serve you, not destroy you. You have to refuse to be the victim of your circumstances. It's not what happens to you that matters, it's what you do with it. You can choose to let pain crush you, or you can choose to let it build you. That choice happens in your mind. You can't control the event, but you can control the meaning. When something painful happens, your brain automatically looks for meaning. If you tell yourself, this means I'm not enough, you'll spiral into despair. But if you tell yourself, this is the challenge that's going to make me stronger, you take back control. Every challenge carries within it the potential for transformation. The heavier the pain, the greater the potential. Some of the most successful people in the world are the ones who face the deepest pain early in life. They learned to transform pain into purpose. They turned rejection into drive. They turned fear into focus. They turned loss into motivation. Pain taught them emotional intelligence. It showed them what truly matters and what doesn't. It stripped away excuses and forced them to find inner strength. That's what makes pain a powerful tool. It forces authenticity. You can't fake strength when you're in pain. You either grow or you give up. When you're in pain, it's easy to focus on the problem, but transformation begins when you focus on progress. Even small steps count. When you move forward even an inch, pain starts to lose its grip. Action dissolves suffering. You don't wait for the pain to disappear. You use it to push yourself forward. When you channel that emotional intensity into something constructive, your work, your training, your learning, it becomes energy instead of weight. The same pain that once made you feel powerless can become the engine that drives your biggest breakthroughs. Pain also reveals your purpose. The areas where you've suffered the most often point to where you're meant to make the most impact. If you've been through betrayal, you value loyalty. If you've faced poverty, you value abundance. If you've experienced loneliness, you value connection. Pain exposes what your heart truly cares about. Once you realize that, you can use that understanding to serve others. Your pain becomes your empathy, your story becomes your strength, and your scars become your message. People don't connect with perfection, they connect with authenticity. When you own your pain and use it to inspire others, it stops being a wound, it becomes wisdom. Turning pain into power doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It means facing it fully and refusing to stay broken. You acknowledge the pain, you feel it, you learn from it, and then you rise. You don't ignore the emotions, but you don't drown in them either. You channel them. You use anger as intensity, sadness as depth, fear as awareness, and guilt as motivation to do better. Every emotion has energy behind it, and energy can be redirected. The same emotion that keeps someone stuck can push someone else forward depending on how they use it. Your body even responds to pain in ways that can strengthen you. Physical pain builds endurance. Emotional pain builds mental toughness. When your body or mind goes through stress, it adapts. That's how resilience is built. Through exposure and recovery, every time you survive something painful, your threshold for difficulty expands. You realize that what once terrified you no longer has power over you. That's the gift of pain. It expands your capacity for life. It shows you how strong you actually are. But to truly turn pain into power, you must shift from asking, why is this happening to me, to what is this teaching me? That question alone transforms your mindset. It puts you in the role of the creator instead of the victim. It gives you control over meaning, and meaning is everything. The moment you assign empowering meaning to pain, you turn it into progress. That's when pain stops being the enemy. It becomes your greatest ally. It becomes a reminder of your potential, not your weakness. Sometimes the pain that hurts the most is exactly what you need to wake up to who you really are. It strips away what's fake, the masks, the excuses, the fears, and reveals the raw truth. You discover what you're made of. You discover that you're tougher, wiser, and more capable than you ever imagined. Pain, when embraced with the right mindset, becomes proof that you're alive, that you're growing, that you're evolving. It's the fire that purifies you, not the storm that destroys you. Pain doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It transforms when you face it. When you look pain in the eyes and say, you're not going to stop me, you reclaim your power. You're no longer at the mercy of what happened. You become the one who decides what it means. You stop seeing yourself as someone who suffered and start seeing yourself as someone who survived, someone who thrived because of it. That shift changes everything. Because once you learn how to turn pain into power, there's nothing in life that can truly break you again.